Good morning, children. Geography, Chapter 6 Major Relief Features of the Earth, Class 6. Introduction. As we know, the Earth is continuously moving. It rotates on its axis and even revolves around the Sun. We do not feel these movements, even though these movements are faster than probably any car on the Earth. Additionally, there is continuous movement under the Earth's surface as well. Earth's surface is uneven in shape and elevation throughout the world. The physical shape or surface of the Earth is referred to as a relief features or landforms of the Earth. Depending upon their elevation and shape, they are called mountains, plateaus, or plains. Major landforms are formed by earth movements associated with the movements of crustal plates. These movements result in elevating, sinking, or displacing a portion of the earth's surface. The raised landform may be further carved out and shaped by different forces as moving ice, rivers, wind, rain, or sea waves. Formation of landforms. Internal process. The Earth's surface is made up of several huge plates called tectonic plates. These are many thousand meters thick and they cover millions of square kilometers of the surface. The division lines between the plates are not visible as such on the surface. These plates keep moving, rubbing, pushing, and pulling against each other. Their movement is very slow and cannot be felt by us. Only sometimes you may feel the movements when you feel an earthquake for a few seconds. The movement of the tectonic plates causes changes in the shape of land. There are continuous activities happening inside and outside the earth. These are known as the internal process. They cause the raising or sinking of the earth's surface. The hills, mountains, valleys, etc. are formed by these movements. External process. The other activities that occur over the Earth's surface are called external process. The external process causes erosion and deposition. However, these processes are very slow and happen over many years. Erosion. Erosion is the process of degradation and removal of the Earth's surface. You would have seen sand. It's a fine particle of stones, and stones are smaller pieces of rocks. Repeated heating and cooling of rocks and stones develop cracks in them. Rain, lightning, and thunder, along with winds and storms, causes them to break further into finer particles. Subsequently, rainwater, melting snow, or fast-blowing winds move sand from one place to the other. This is called erosion. This process happens over a period of many years. Deposition. Deposition is called the process of aggradations. In this process, eroded material like the debris and finer particles of sand are moved by wind, waves, and rain, and they keep getting accumulated at one place. This collection of eroded material is called deposition. Major landforms. Landforms are broadly classified as mountains, deserts, valleys, plains, plateaus, coast, etc. Mountains. Mountains are the natural elevations of the Earth's surface. They are generally characterized by a small summit and a broad base. They rise above the surroundings sharply. There could be isolated mountains or a series of them. A series of mountains are known as mountain ranges. The Andes in South America and the Himalayas in India are the famous mountain ranges which are not only extended but also very high. Although not specifically defined, but smaller mountains with height less than 2,000 feet above mean sea level are called hills. Most mountains have low temperatures and are covered with snow. The highest mountains have such a thick layer of snow which turns into ice. At places, the mountain surface may not be visible at all and is fully covered by snow or ice. Among these high mountains, we find frozen rivers which are called glaciers. These glaciers are frozen mass of ice which may be hundreds of feet thick and hundreds of meters wide, just like a river you see. Many of the rivers which we see in the plains originate from the glaciers and travel through hundreds of kilometers to reach the sea. Types of mountains. Mountains are classified as fold mountains, block mountains, and volcanic mountains. They are distinct and identifiable. First, fold mountains. These mountains look like a series of folds on the ground. These are formed due to the compression of plates during their movement as depicted in the sketch below. You can see. Fold mountains. The upfold is called the anticline and the downfold is called syncline. Block mountains. These are formed when the plates drift outwards and cause vertical displacement in pieces of land. Pieces of land may sink downwards or rise upwards. The uplifted blocks are called horst and the lowered blocks are called graben. The Vosges Mountains in Europe is one such example. In this image, the diagram showing the formation of the block mountains. Note that the raised blocks are called the horst while the lowered blocks are called the graben. Volcanic mountains. These are mountains which are formed as a result of volcanic eruptions. Such mountains are found in many parts of the world, especially towards Japan, New Zealand, North Europe, and South America. You will get a fair understanding by looking at this sketch. Importance of mountains. Mountains play an important part in human life. Mountains affect the movement of winds and flow of water. High mountains block the movement of winds from one side to the other. For example, due to the presence of the Himalayas, cold winds from Tibet and China cannot come towards India. Similarly, they force rain clouds to shed the moisture in India. Many rivers flow out of the glaciers in the Himalayas and other regions of the country. These rivers provide water for agriculture and other uses to people living in the plains. Mountains have rich deposits of minerals. These can be extracted for use by human beings. Many people visit the mountains for adventure and tourism. Many sports like rock climbing, parasailing, skiing, etc. are associated with mountains as the region poses challenges for human endurance. Tourists visit mountainous regions for their natural scenic beauty. Mountains have a variety of flora and fauna which is quite different from the plains. The cooler temperatures, the type of soil and the water streams allow different varieties of animals and plants to survive in the mountains. Plateaus. Plateaus are a type of raised grounds which are peculiarly flat on top. They are like tabletops and stand distinctly from the rest of the surroundings. They may be just a few meters to hundreds of meters high. They are generally formed by cooling of volcanic material which settles down and solidifies after an eruption. The Deccan Plateau of India, the Tibetan Plateau are two famous plateaus of Asia. Many Eastern African countries like Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda also have plateaus. The Tibetan Plateau is the highest plateau in the world and is called the roof of the world. Importance of plateaus. Plateaus are characterized by rich mineral deposits. For example, Chota Nagpur Plateau in India is rich in coal and iron. There are many waterfalls where river waterfalls over the edge of the plateau on or to the area below. At several places, these falls are used to generate electricity. The plateaus which have black soil are good for growing crops like cotton and other cash crops. Extensive farming is done on such soil. Plains. Plains are the most common landforms. They are flat or nearly flat surfaces which could be formed by the external process of erosion and deposition. They are normally formed by a fine soil called the alluvium or alluvial soil, brought down from the mountains by the rivers. Some of the famous plains in the world are the Gangetic Plains in India and Huanghe in China. Rivers coming down from higher regions have a narrow path and higher flow of water and move very fast as the slope is sharp and surface is rocky. The speed and force of the water make them carry along large amounts of eroded material from the mountain surface and surroundings. Once the river reaches the plains, it gets wider. Since the same amount of water is now flowing through a wider area and a shallow slope, it would automatically lose its speed. The river starts depositing the soil and particles it brought from the higher reaches, which are left behind as alluvial deposits in the plains. Gradually, the river reaches the place where it meets the sea or the ocean. By the time it reaches this area, it gets so slow that the eroded material is left behind as sediments and silt. Such areas where the river sediments divide the water channel into many small distributaries is known as delta. Importance of plains. Plains have fertile soil and they are also rich in minerals. Fertile soil facilitates growing of crops, and therefore most of the ancient civilizations came up in these fertile areas. The flat surface of the plains facilitate easy movement and transportation of people and goods, as well as construction and setting up of industry. It is easier to make roads, railways, bridges, airports and industrial centers on the plains than on the other landforms. The river basins and plains are thus the most populous areas all over the world. People and the landforms. People have always chosen to live at a place where they could get food, water and shelter. They also live in high mountains, in jungles and in deserts. Life is difficult in such regions, and therefore people want to migrate to places where they can live a comparatively easier life. This leads to people migrating to towns and cities in search of jobs and livelihood. Towns and cities are therefore getting highly congested. You have studied that the landforms are a result of the internal and external processes, which are an ongoing process. These processes are responsible for disasters like earthquakes, landslides, floods, volcanoes, tsunamis, cyclones, etc., which keep happening at different places. We all know that the surface of the earth is unique, but its capability to sustain agriculture and industry is limited. We should not do anything which harms the earth. Pollution of air and water, discriminate use of polythene, wastage of water are matters of concern for all of us. We should be careful about these so that the earth continues to be a livable place for many centuries in the future. The Government of India has taken many steps to save the environment and to bring about cleanliness. Use of plastic has been controlled, and the initiative such as Swachh Bharat have been undertaken to ensure a better and healthy environment.